That's why I'm back. We get one chance to fix it.
Mike and Nick and Alice unfolds as an intimate character-driven drama that explores friendship, identity, emotional confusion, and the complicated geometry of modern relationships. At its heart, the film is less about dramatic external events and more about subtle shifts in loyalty, attraction, insecurity, and personal growth. The story moves through conversations, shared spaces, awkward silences, and emotionally charged glances, building tension not through spectacle but through vulnerability. It captures the fragile nature of connections when four lives intertwine in ways none of them fully anticipated. The narrative centers on a close-knit group bound together by long-standing friendship and evolving romantic undercurrents. Mike is steady on the surface but internally conflicted, someone who values stability yet fears stagnation. Nick carries a restless energy, charismatic yet guarded, often masking deeper uncertainty behind humor and impulsiveness. The second Nick, whose presence initially feels like coincidence but quickly becomes something more, significant, acts as both mirror and disruption, exposing hidden dynamics within the group. Alice, the emotional axis of the story, moves through these relationships with layered complexity, navigating expectations placed upon her while confronting her own desires from the beginning. The film establishes an atmosphere of naturalism. Dialogue feels lived in rather than scripted, and scenes unfold in familiar spaces: apartments, coffee shops, late-night walks through quiet streets. The simplicity of the setting allows emotional tension to dominate. Nothing explodes, no dramatic catastrophes occur, yet every exchange carries weight. A slight pause in conversation or a diverted gaze becomes as powerful as any dramatic confrontation. The dynamic between Mike and the first Nick reflects years of shared history. Their friendship contains inside jokes and unspoken understandings, but also buried resentments. As the second Nick enters the picture, subtle fractures begin to show. Conversations become competitive. Silence grows heavier. The film delicately examines how easily balance can shift when a new presence challenges established roles. It raises the question of whether long-term bonds are resilient or simply habitual. Alice's relationships with each of them deepen the emotional complexity. She is not portrayed as a passive figure caught between men, but as someone wrestling with her own internal contradictions. Her interactions reveal different sides of her personality: playful with one, intellectually engaged with another, emotionally vulnerable with someone else. These shifting dynamics highlight how identity can feel fluid depending on context and companionship. As the story progresses, misunderstandings begin to accumulate. What starts as harmless banter slowly transforms into subtle rivalry. The two Nicks, though distinct in temperament, share unexpected similarities. Both are searching for validation in different ways. Mike observes this parallel with increasing unease, recognizing reflections of himself in both men. The doubling of the name Nick becomes symbolic, suggesting interchangeable roles, blurred lines of individuality, and the idea that identity is less fixed than assumed. The film's pacing mirrors real life rather than conventional drama. There are long conversations about seemingly trivial topics that gradually reveal deeper truths. Arguments emerge not from single explosive moments but from layers of unresolved tension. A shared dinner can shift from laughter to discomfort in seconds. The camera often lingers after dialogue ends, capturing the emotional residue left in silence. Midway through the narrative, alliances subtly rearrange. One-on-one conversations reveal secrets withheld from the group. Trust begins to erode. The emotional stakes heighten as confessions are made and vulnerabilities exposed. No one is entirely right or wrong. Instead, each character carries partial truths shaped by personal fear. The film resists easy judgment, encouraging viewers to empathize with conflicting perspectives. Themes of jealousy and self-worth run quietly beneath the surface. Mike's fear of being replaced collides with Nick's anxiety about not being enough. The second Nick struggles with the pressure of entering an already established dynamic, questioning whether authenticity is possible in a space shaped by history. Alice confronts the burden of being perceived as the emotional center. wondering whether her presence intensifies competition or simply reveals pre-existing insecurities. The story also explores the fluidity of attraction and loyalty. Relationships shift gradually rather than abruptly. Emotional boundaries blur. A late-night confession alters the trajectory of a friendship. A simple gesture like reaching for someone's hand carries enormous consequence. These understated moments build cumulative tension, leading to confrontations that feel both inevitable and heartbreaking. Visually, the film embraces intimacy. Close framing emphasizes expressions and micro-reactions. Natural lighting enhances realism, making each scene feel immediate and unfiltered. Rather than dramatic musical cues, subtle ambient sound supports the emotional atmosphere. This restraint amplifies authenticity, drawing viewers into the characters' internal worlds. As the central conflict reaches its peak, conversations once avoided can no longer be postponed. The group gathers for an emotionally charged exchange where long-suppressed truths surface. Accusations are tempered by regret. Apologies collide with defensiveness. The doubling of Nick becomes a focal point in the dialogue, symbolizing confusion not only of names but of roles and expectations. Each character must confront who they are outside the perception of others. In this climactic sequence, the film avoids melodrama. Instead, it allows raw honesty to unfold organically. Tears are restrained, voices tremble but do not escalate into shouting. The power lies in authenticity. By the end of the confrontation, relationships are irrevocably altered. Some bonds fracture. Others redefine themselves in unexpected ways. The aftermath carries a quiet poignancy. The group dynamic, once familiar and predictable, feels uncertain. Small gestures suggest tentative healing, yet nothing returns to its original form. The film implies that growth often requires loss, that clinging to comfort can prevent genuine evolution. Each character emerges changed, not dramatically transformed, but subtly recalibrated. Mike begins to understand that stability must be chosen rather than assumed. The first Nick recognizes the importance of vulnerability over bravado. The second Nick accepts that belonging cannot be forced. It must develop naturally. Alice reclaims her agency, no longer defined solely by her relationships but by her own clarity of purpose. Their arcs intersect and diverge, reflecting the unpredictable nature of adult friendships. The closing moments favor ambiguity over resolution. A final shared scene hints at possibility rather than certainty. Perhaps reconciliation is achievable. Perhaps distance is necessary. The camera does not provide answers. It observes. In doing so, the film remains consistent with its thematic core. Relationships are ongoing negotiations rather than fixed conclusions. Culturally, Mike and Nick and Alice resonates with audiences familiar with evolving social dynamics in contemporary life. It captures the fragility of connection in an era where identity feels fluid and roles constantly shift. The film avoids grand gestures in favor of emotional realism, trusting viewers to recognize themselves in the characters' struggles. What makes the story compelling is its refusal to villainize any participant. Conflict arises not from malice but from insecurity and miscommunication. Each character desires connection, yet fear complicates expression. The doubling of names reinforces the idea that individuality can blur within close relationships, especially when comparisons arise. By focusing on nuanced dialogue and authentic performances, the film elevates ordinary interactions into emotionally charged encounters. Its strength lies in restraint. Rather than offering explosive twists, it provides gradual revelation. The result is a story that lingers in memory because it feels truthful. Ultimately, Mike and Nick and Alice becomes a meditation on friendship, love, and the shifting architecture of identity. It suggests that understanding oneself requires confrontation with how others perceive and influence us. The four characters begin as a cohesive unit but end as individuals more aware of their own desires and boundaries. In its quiet conclusion, the film leaves viewers contemplating their own relationships. It asks whether loyalty means holding on or letting go. It questions whether shared history guarantees future compatibility. And it gently reminds us that Emotional growth often emerges from discomfort. Through subtle storytelling and layered performances, Mike and Nick and Alice transforms a simple premise into a deeply reflective narrative. It proves that even without grand spectacle, a story grounded in human complexity can captivate. By examining the delicate balance between closeness and independence, the film offers an honest portrayal of how friendships evolve and sometimes unravel under the weight of unspoken truths.